The Heathen Army wants you. Hey there, you beautiful heathen. Welcome to Weird Wednesdays. This is Iwaz Initiations, and I'm your host, Matt Sargent. Thanks for joining us. Today, I'm trying to recruit you to join the Heathen Army. And you might be saying, what the hell does the Heathen Army have to do with Weird Wednesday? Well, we're getting there. But basically, Weird Wednesdays, we talk about ways in which we can all alter our weird. And the ultimate goal of this channel in general is to alter the weird of the planet and help combat the negative impacts humanity has had on Midgard over the last century or so. And by and large, I'm trying to teach heathens how to embrace and honor their ancestors by becoming producers instead of consumers, growing their own food, fiber, fuel, and medicine. There are a few things that inspired this week's episode. One, I picked up and started rereading Alehouse Ablaze last week, and that is a great anthology. I highly recommend it to any heathen. I'm definitely not going to recommend you take it as dogma, but it's a great mentally stimulating book that will challenge the ways you look at heathenry and approach your spiritual practices within the Germanic pagan context. If you haven't read it, you don't own it, there's a link in the show notes. Definitely get it and check it out. If anything, the essay written about Futhark, the runes, and a hidden message / joke that our ancestors hid in the Futhark runic alphabet, that essay in and of itself is worth buying and reading the book in and of itself. But there's a lot of valuable information in it. And the way the Alehouse Ablaze essay kind of triggered this video today is in the essay Beyond the Belief toward a dogma-free rational heathenism. The author talks about how it's not practical for heathens to gather in communities and live off-grid and in an ancestral manner and rely on fireplaces to provide heat and warmth and cooking fuel. And every time I've read that, and I've read this essay, this book, probably 7 times now, that's always kind of triggered me because I know that's not true. It's a matter of how we approach providing the fuel for the hearth that is questionable. And I'm going to say that it's not true because where I live in Montana, I need 7 quarts of winter to heat my house through winter. I only use a wood-burning fireplace. And that sounds like a fair amount of wood. However, according to the Farmer's Almanac, 10 8-inch diameter trees provides 1 quart of wood. So that means I would need to cut 70 8-inch diameter trees to get the firewood I need for a winter. It sounds like a lot, right? Well, say I plant 1,000 black locust trees on my property, which is what I plan on doing either this spring or the following spring. And black locust grows very rapidly and within a decade should easily be big enough to harvest for firewood. So 1,000 trees is way more than I need for a winter. If you use a technique known as pollarding, where you cut a tree at chest height at a certain angle, it's going to resprout and grow back, especially a real vigorous tree like black locust. I plant 1,000 trees and I harvest 70 on one year one, once they're big enough, another 70 the next year, etc., etc. I can create a rotation where I'm never clear cutting all these black locust trees, and they're all, by the time I've gone through year 8 and the original year 1 will have resprouted and be big enough to provide firewood. Meanwhile, I'm cutting 70 trees a year. That's another 930 trees that I'm not cutting that are sequestering carbon and providing all sorts of ecological benefits. If you look at black locusts, they're a nitrogen fixer, so they're enriching the soil around them and making it better for other plants, whether they be food crops, trees, nuts, even just medicinal shrubs or just habitat plants. They're improving the soil for those plants. When you cut them down, some of their root system dies back, and it increases the organic material in the soil, thus making the soil even better for other plants and or crops that are growing in the same vicinity. Black locust provides a seed pod that is high in protein for human consumption or livestock consumption or just wild animal consumptions. It's one of the first flowers in the spring. It's a very important source of pollen for bees. The list of benefits of this tree go on and on and on. So if one was to wisely use it as a fuel wood, oh, and I forgot to mention, it happens to be the best ranked firewood as far as BTUs by the Farmer's Almanac. So it's a very efficient wood. And then you could couple that with, say, an intelligent fireplace design like a rocket mass heater. If you're not familiar with a rocket mass heater, check out this video. It's not one that I did, but they show how well they really work. And I've been in places I used them. I've actually sat on the bench on the one in the video, and it warms the entire place, and it uses a fraction of the wood of a traditional wood burning fireplace. So I know that with intelligent design and intelligent forestry practices that go against modern forestry practices, that we can very much provide habitat as well as meet basic human needs. And 1,000 black locusts sounds like a lot, but when I lived in Kentucky, I planted 2,000 trees on 10 acres, and 1,000 of them were black locusts. So those trees are all alive and well today. I think I have some pictures. If I do, you're looking at them right now. Utilizing the lessons that I've learned by practicing agroforestry, embracing permaculture and regenerative agriculture, that humans can very much live in a way that provides for all of our needs, food, fiber, fuel, and medicine, for our kin and kith, while creating a better place for the world. And that is by doing so in an ecologically friendly way, limiting our consumption and becoming producers, becoming responsible for our own livelihood. And responsibility for your own well-being was a trait that was very much emphasized and supported and honored in the Germanic pagan communities. You can see hints of that in the Havamal. If you watch this video right now, it gives a couple glimpses as to how the Havamal promotes the idea of being self-supporting, self-sustaining. And in the example of planting these 1,000 black locusts, I'm not going to just plant 1,000 black locusts. I'm going to plant nut trees, I'm going to plant apple trees, I'm going to plant pear trees, trees that provide food and fiber for myself, as well as the wild inhabitants that live near or will immigrate onto my land once I create this awesome habitat for them. These are all things that you can learn how to do. And if this interests you, I want you to join the Heathen Army. Click the subscribe button, turn on the bell notification. That way you can honor the land, connect with your ancestors, witness the gods, and save Midgard. Basically, I know that with intelligent design and lifestyle changes, we can reverse humanity's negative impact that it's had over the last couple centuries as far as climate degradation, habitat destruction, trash, etc. And that requires us to accept and embrace ancestral skills.